The next project we're going to work on is building with slabs. So I have about 5 pounds of gray clay. That's the color of clay we're going to use this time. There's no specific reason why the gray clay other than I find it to be a little bit easier to work with because it's smooth. And sometimes the glaze colors look a little bit nicer. So because it was just like in a big hunk, I had to break that clay up so that I can now wedge it. Now, if you're going to struggle or think you're going to struggle with 5 pounds to wedge, you could do it in smaller pieces. But you do want to work that clay up just like with any other project that we've been working on this quarter. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time wedging it. Wedging, remember, helps prepare our clay by aligning the clay particles and also getting it ready for use. And mainly, it pushes the air out. So now I'm going to start flattening this because I want to put this through the roller. And I can't put this through the slab roller if it's this thick. So at first, I'm just going to toss it and flip it. Then I'm going to start tossing at a bit of an angle. This is going to help stretch the clay out so it's not just a long strip when it goes through the roller. Now, I don't need to flatten it completely, but I do need to make it flat enough to go through. So right now, my slab is thinner than that big hunk of clay, but at the same time, it's not super thin. So the slab roller is still going to do its job. So I'm going to pause and roll this through the roller, and I'll be back. So now that I rolled my clay through the slab roller, it's a 1/4 inch thick, so that's what it was set at. I want to make sure that I take my smooth metal rib again and check for air pockets. And then you want to pop them. So I just popped a big air pocket right there, so that's a good thing. This also removes the canvas texture from the slab from when you rolled it through the roller. And then I want to flip my clay over. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So it's still kind of a long strip, but it's a little bit wider. So hopefully I can get all of my slabs out. And if I can't, that simply means I'm going to have to re-wedge it and roll another slab. So I want to start as far down as I can. And I'm just going to take my needle tool and trace around my template. And so each of you should have a 5x5 template. And you're going to need a total of 6 squares. So even though I left myself some space, I still don't have enough. So I'm going to go ahead and probably have to roll another slab, but at least I will get a good portion of them out with one piece of clay. And then if I go over here, I don't have enough, so I am going to have to roll another slab. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut my current squares out. I am using the fettling knife. This is our cutting tool. This is going to work nicer to get that cut. The needle tool was great to help me kind of trace around. Okay, so then I'm going to take my extra clay, kind of pile that all up. I'm going to set my 3 current slabs that I have aside. And then I need to rework my extra clay. So I need to wedge that. And then I'm going to flatten it again. So I start again by just kind of flopping it back and forth or up and down. And then I'm going to go at an angle. Remember that this helps stretch your clay wider so that you should be able to fit your slabs on it. And I don't want to toss it any flatter because it's not going to do much when I go through the roller. So I'm going to pause again and roll another slab. So I have my next slab back, and of course before I can cut out my template, I need to check it for air pockets. And you want to make sure that you open them up if you find one. Flip it over again. Okay. Then I want to try to see, so I'll at least be able to get 2 more of my squares out of this hunk of clay. But I'll probably need to roll one more last baby slab for the last piece. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my fettling knife. Keep my extra clay. And some of you might be able to make a bigger slab than I did. That's okay. But I just want you to know it's also okay if you have to end up rolling more than one slab. So set these 2 aside. So right now I have 5 squares and I need 6. So I need to wedge up this last little bit of clay. I'm going to toss it just a little bit this time. I have a much smaller hunk of clay, so I don't need to really flatten it a ton, but I still can't have it super thick or it won't go through the roller. And then tossing helps stretch this clay out, so hopefully when I roll it, I will have enough clay to make my last square. So already I know when that flattens, I should have enough. So I'm going to pause one more time to make another slab. So I've created my last slab, and just like with the other ones, I need to take my smooth metal rib, check for air pockets, remove the canvas texture, flip it over to the other side, and then I can cut my last square. So it just fits. And this time, because I'm just doing one, I'm just going to use my fettling knife and cut it right away. You can do this with the other ones too, that's fine. I just sometimes like to make sure I know that everything's going to fit nice, so that's why I kind of mark it out with the needle tool. So this extra clay, you want to go ahead and ball up into a ball. Probably wrap it in a wet paper towel and then put it into a bag right away, because you're going to use this extra clay as you're building with your slabs. So now that I have my slabs made, I need to get them ready to construct. And right now the clay is wet, so if I try to build with this, it's going to get really wobbly and collapse. So I need my slabs to become leather hard. And how I'm going to do that is by getting some newspaper. And I'm going to open that newspaper up. And I'm going to put my slabs inside the newspaper. And then I'm going to fold over them. I'm going to put 2 more slabs. Fold the newspaper. Get my last 2 slabs. And then fold over the newspaper. So the newspaper is helping to take some of that moisture out of your clay so that it will be leather hard and ready to work with. So I can't just put this into my cubby uncovered because you guys are in the studio every day. So I have another one of those drywall boards. I'm going to put my slabs on top. And then I'm going to get a bag. Put my slabs inside the bag, and then make sure I cover under. So now my clay is going to rest for at least a day. And if you're not in the studio, depending upon when you make your slabs, it might be a day or two. But it should keep it leather hard as long as it's covered in plastic and put in your cubby. So the next segment will be over slab construction.